All right, good morning and welcome back to Daybreak Extra. It is still the 23rd of April 2022. And right about now, just before we move into our first discussion, we have a guest on the show who would like to, have a chat with and as regards music. Now, there are lots of genres, when it comes to music. And today in the studio, we have a classical music director talking about Chinenye Nonso Ukegbu in the house. Good morning and welcome to
Good
Daybreak.
morning. Good morning.
All right, so when people talk about different genres of music, we know there's Afrobeat, we know, there's pop, we know there's house, a lot of, top genres. But then when you talk about classical music, what is it all about? What's the difference?
Well, the difference is the discipline. Classical music is disciplined in the sense that it's patterned, is written, and must be followed. Other genres of music, most of them are not written. Most of them are from heart, most of them are from memory. But the difference between the classical music and other music is the very fact that it's a discipline, is followed. Whether you're going to add whatever you want to add, whether you're going to add styles, you're going to add rhythm, other rhythms and all that. But it is written and
When
it
you
is
say
followed.
written, you mean composed?
Written in the sense that there's a format,
Okay.
which is the staff, which is the staff written down. And whether you come back tomorrow, whether you come back the next 3 years, it is the same way it is. The only difference is going to be they're going to add, like I said, different rhythms, beats, and all that. But the very fact is that it is written, whether it is 200 years,
It's
come
still
back
the
to
same way.
So what drove you into classical music? Because it is unusual, really, considering the environment that we're in. No, seriously.
Yes,
We have to be honest. It is considering the environment that we're in right now.
Yeah.
Even somebody who sees you listening to classical music gives you a look. You understand? It looks at you in a different way.
They say classical music is for the old.
Exactly. It's not really for the old, but it's for the really old.
For the really old.
You understand? So if somebody sees you listen to classical, he gives you a look. And then you say, okay, I'm a classical music director. You can imagine how many looks you're going to get. So
Yeah.
what drove you to that?
I think let's start from background.
Okay.
Yes. My parents, everybody, from top to down, they are all in that side. We are more of Orthodox.
Okay.
And that built my love for classical music. In as much as, yes, I do other music, but majorly classical music. So background built my love for it. And with time, I got to find out that classical music gave me the discipline, because you must focus. It's not you're going to delve on this, you're going to do this. If you must do classical music, you must be focused. So I think background gives me that push. Then also, it is the joy that it brings. Other people will have different reasons or why they delve into different kind of music. But personally for me, it's the joy I have while singing or playing or conducting classical music. So basically that's it.
So you write, you sing, you compose, you direct.
Anyone, I don't know.
Okay. Now, as a music director, you actually, should I say control? Or as a music director, you actually, cater to a large crowd, and how do I put it? The kind of people. It's not just like having 3 backup singers. Like you have like a whole choir, at your disposal.
When you're talking about the choir, it's not like you're having 1, 2, 3 persons. You're having almost 200 persons in 4 different parts.
How challenging has it been? How has it been?
Wow. You know, everybody have their way of thinking. Everybody have their way of life, their upbringing. And it is in that place everybody come together to sing as one or to behave like one. And that is why it is called a chorus. So having different types of human beings, different attitudes, different way of thinking, and bringing them to one place, sitting them down first to learn is another problem. Talk more of even when the tantrums and whatever come around. So basically it's just to understand that humans are going to be humans, but it is the way to handle them that matters. Most times you will be pushed to shout, most times you will be pushed to you know, want to punish and all that. But it's just to understand that you have to be patient with them. You have to, you know, guide them through. You have to, because if you don't, you might want to beat somebody in church one day. So it's just the patience and the understanding of humans. That's just it.
So have you had any formal training?
Yes. Most of the trainings I've had more of RSCM, Royal School of Church Music.
Okay.
We basically do it almost every year. And we couldn't do last year or last 2 years because of the COVID situations, you know. So RSCM is what I always go to every year. It's in Lagos. We always do that every year. But for study, no, I didn't study music.
Okay.
No, I didn't study music. I studied something totally different.
Okay. And then okay.
Okay, you're going to ask something.
No, go ahead.
Okay, so what's the difference between classical music and, is it the same with opera? Is it opera or opera?
Opera.
Opera, sorry.
Opera.
Yes, opera is a genre. Is a form of classical music.
Okay.
Opera is a form of classical music, which is totally different. There are symphonic music where the choir just stands and sing. The 4 parts stands and sing. They are different parts. But opera is you act and you sing at the same time. It's just imagine moving around, human beings moving around, maybe jumping, running, dancing, and singing at the same time. So it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. Opera is a form of classical music, but is a lot different. It's a lot different.
So how would you describe the kind of music that you do? What would you describe it as?
I do classical music, and I describe it as a way of life.
Okay.
Music in general is an act. It's a form of living. People would describe music as any sound that is pleasant to the ear. And the word pleasing, please underline that word pleasant, because some of the music we have now are noise. So music is any sound that is pleasant to the ear. And classical music was brought to us by the Western world. And when we understood it, as they brought it to us, they gave us different dimensions. They gave us different understandings of music. As time went on, yes, different music came about. So classical music is a pointer. Classical music is a way of describing yourself, giving yourself a direction, giving yourself a focus. So, to me, if you must do music, I even tell people who delve into other music, most of the time they will still come back to you to put their music in scores.
Okay.
to put their music in written form. And to put it in written form, it must be put in music, plain paper, for them to be able to go back to it and all that. So it's a way of life. It's a pure way of life.
Okay.
You need to listen to classical music more. It will help your focus. It will help your. It will help. Seriously, it will. Try.
Okay, so now you talked about, most of these musicians, what they're doing is just noise,
Personally, yes.
Okay, so in other climes, I know musicians actually compose their songs, write their songs, and they know how to read the notes, right? But do you think if Nigerians actually inculcated this, a process, that music would sound better?
Yes, it will. But the problem is going to be, I don't know, I can't remember any kind of music now that is, this, I don't know what it's called. Is it Zazu? There's
And
Zazu.
all this commercial music.
Yes. It's the form at which it comes. It's the rhythm at which it comes, the melody at which it comes, the timings, the beatings. Yes, it can be put into music, but some of them are going to be hard because of I want to use the word, the rascality in writing. It's called the rascality in writing, because when you write music, you need to understand these 5 basic things, which is the melody, the rhythm, the form, the harmony, and the dexterity. If you don't understand these 5 things, when it comes to composition, when it comes to writing, when it comes to even production, you will just be making noise.
Like you said.
That's the word. So you need to understand this format. It's a format. It's there. Any producer you meet will tell you, you must understand that this is the beat. Most producers will sit down, create beats, and wait for their singers to come around. But personally, I feel it's the other way around.
Okay, so who are the classical musicians that you love to listen to or you look up to?
Pavarotti in Great Marie, it's one person who I love so much. Pavarotti. Andrea Bocelli too is there. Cecilia Balotelli, she's there. Sarah Brightman, she's there. Andrea Pitchford is there. So many of them. There's so many of them.
I think the familiar ones are the likes of Beethoven. Is that classical as well?
Beethoven is a composer.
Okay.
Handel is a composer. We have Bach, who is also a composer. There are so many of them who are composers. So who just called now is a composer, is a renowned composer.
So we talked about the unusualness of you being a classical musician in Nigeria. How financially rewarding has it been? Let me put it that way.
Classical music is like I said before, it's for the old-hearted, and it is basically those who love classical music who invite you to come perform or to sing. And of recent time, at most events, when, for instance, you want to sing, you want to perform the national anthem, for instance, it's most times they will call a classical choir or call a classical singer, an opera singer, to perform the national anthem at most events. And so financially, it's not, it's not big as that of calling P Square, calling Davido. No. If you must do classical music, you should know that it is something of the heart.
Okay.
And the financial reward will be there, but not as much as
do you envisage a time where we can be able to get that, to say, okay, fine, classical music in Nigeria is as rewarding as all the others? Do you envision a time like that?
There was a time.
Okay.
There was a time when classical music was really, really, really rewarding. But now, It's not as much as it used to be before. No, it's not
Okay,
as
so
much
but
as
what
before.
do you think can be done to grow, the listeners of classical music?
Is the reorientation. Is the reorientation, because gradually we are losing that. I checked the US Billboard recently. Classical music is even the last out of 20 something. Even children music is
It's above
as
classical.
above classical music. And it was so surprising actually when I saw it. So, but is the reorientation, is the awareness we need to start creating. It's even to add more life into classical music, add more things, bring the contemporary to classical music and join it together. So many people are actually doing it now. Some people are trying to write music, both classical music and joining pop, joining jazz, joining other form of music with classical music. Yes, it is a form, but personally, I always like classical music to be classical music.
Okay, so you get invited for concerts every now and then,
Yeah.
right? Which is your most favorable concert experience?
Hey, da. It should be centenary, the centenary celebration. That was done with the Abuja Metropolitan Music Society. Personally, the centenary celebration was my best.
Okay.
Was the height of it for me. Was the height for it.
All right, so it's been lovely having you on the
Thank
show
you
to
very
discuss
much. Thank you very
classical
much.
music.
Thank you very
I never thought I would be discussing classical music on the show, but it's been an eye opener and it's been a wonderful experience. Thank you for
Thank
coming.
You need to keep listening to classical music.
Yes,
Try.
I think I'll give it a try.
Thank you very
All
much.
right, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.